If you are over 60, you probably know this moment all too well. You swing your legs over the side of the bed in the morning. Your feet touch the floor, and for a few seconds, you simply wait. You wait for the heaviness to fade, for the stiffness to loosen, for your legs to remember how to move again. Maybe you rub your calves. Maybe you wiggle your toes. Maybe you whisper to yourself, "I guess this is just age." But here is the part that hits hardest. What you feel in those quiet morning seconds is not simply aging. It is circulation. Leg circulation that has quietly faded over the years until you barely notice it, until one day your feet seem colder than the room, your walks feel shorter, and the stairs in your own home feel taller than they used to. And most older adults never hear the real reason why. After 60, your body can lose up to 60% of its natural nitric oxide, the tiny signal that keeps blood flowing freely to your legs. Without it, your vessels behave like old garden hoses left outside in winter. They stiffen, they narrow, they struggle, and you feel the consequences long before any doctor ever explains them. I am Dr. James, and I want you to hear something hopeful today. Your body has not given up. Your legs have not given up. Your circulation is not done. Your body is still trying to heal. It just needs the right support. And in many cases, that support begins with simple, everyday foods that most Americans over 60 already have in their kitchens. Have you ever wondered why your legs feel heavy at night? Or why your toes stay cold even with warm socks? Comment 1 if yes, 0 if no. I read every message because your story matters, and you are not alone in this. Stay with me, because one of the foods on this list works within hours. When a 72-year-old patient named Harold tried it, he called me the next morning and said, "Doc, for the first time in years, my feet actually felt warm." What happened inside his body is remarkable, and by the end of this video, you will understand how it can happen to you, too. If you are over 60, you may have noticed something surprising about your mornings. Before the coffee is brewing, before the house wakes up, your legs often feel heavier than the rest of you. You sit at the breakfast table, the sunlight coming through the window, and your body is awake, but your legs feel like they are running a few minutes behind. Many older adults don't realize this sluggish start is often the very first whisper of declining leg circulation. And one of the gentlest ways to nudge that circulation awake is hiding in something as simple as a lemon or an orange. I remember a patient named Linda, 68, who told me she dreaded her mornings because her feet felt like blocks of ice when she touched the kitchen floor. She thought it was arthritis. She thought it was age. But what she was actually feeling was the slow decline of natural nitric oxide, the compound that signals your blood vessels to relax and open so warm, oxygen-rich blood can reach your legs. Without enough nitric oxide, those vessels behave like tight, stiff roads at rush hour. Everything slows down. Citrus fruits do something incredibly important. The vitamin C inside them protects your nitric oxide from breaking down too quickly, almost like placing a shield around it. Think of it as putting fresh oil on an old hinge. Suddenly, the door opens more smoothly. The same is true for your arteries. With stronger nitric oxide support, your blood can glide rather than push its way toward your feet. Linda began her day with warm water and half a lemon. Nothing fancy, nothing expensive. Within 2 weeks, she told me, "My toes don't feel icy anymore when I sit for breakfast." A small change. A big shift in how her legs greeted the day. Citrus will not transform your circulation overnight, but it gives your vessels the early morning nudge they desperately need after 60, and it prepares the body beautifully for the more powerful foods coming up on this list. Stay with me, because food number 8 helps your blood move through those newly awakened pathways even more smoothly, especially for people who struggle with sticky, heavy-feeling legs by afternoon. If you have ever taken an afternoon walk and felt your legs growing heavier with each step, almost as if someone quietly added ankle weights when you were not looking, you are not alone. Many older adults don't realize that this heaviness often has less to do with muscles and more to do with something happening inside the blood itself. As we age, the blood can become thicker, stickier, and slower, and the result is that leg circulation struggles to keep up. Your heart is trying, Your vessels are trying, but the flow moves through the body like traffic on a clogged highway. This is where garlic, one of the oldest foods in human history, becomes quietly powerful. I once treated a 74-year-old man named Frank. He told me he had stopped taking his evening walks because his legs felt as if they were filling with sand by the time he reached the mailbox. He assumed it was aging. He assumed it was a weakness. But in truth, his blood was behaving like glue. He needed something simple to help keep that flow moving. Garlic did exactly that. Garlic has a natural ability to keep platelets from clumping together, which means your blood stays smoother, less sticky, and easier to move through the vessels that lead to your legs. Think of it like adding a gentle breeze to a still pond. The water begins to ripple again. The movement returns. Your legs feel lighter because the flow inside them is lighter. And when garlic supports better flow, it also indirectly supports natural nitric oxide, the signal your vessels depend on to widen and relax. The best part is that garlic fits naturally into an American kitchen. You can chop it, roast it, mix it into a soup, or spread it on warm bread. When I taught Frank to roast garlic until it softened into a buttery paste, he smiled in a way I had not seen before. 2 weeks later, he said, "Doc, my legs do not feel like they are arguing with me anymore." Garlic will not transform your life overnight, but it gently removes one of the biggest barriers to healthy leg circulation, and what comes next builds on that progress even more. Stay with me, because food number 7 helps your vessels stay clear and flexible in a completely different way, almost like clearing the morning fog from an old country road. If you have ever taken a short walk across the grocery store parking lot and felt your legs swelling or tightening before you even reach the entrance, you are not imagining it. Many older adults don't realize that this sudden heaviness often comes from a quiet buildup of inflammation inside the blood vessels. It is not dramatic. It does not announce itself. It simply makes every step feel a little less free, as if your legs are moving through fog instead of air. And this is where berries, those simple bright fruits you may have eaten on summer picnics or family barbecues, become surprisingly powerful allies for leg circulation. I once met a woman named Carol, 71, who loved picking blueberries with her grandchildren every July. She told me she had stopped going because her legs felt too tired to walk through the orchard. She thought it was age. She thought it was a weakness. What she did not know was that the vessels feeding her legs were inflamed, stiff, and losing their natural nitric oxide response. Imagine a country road covered in thick morning fog. You know the road is there, but you cannot move with confidence. You slow down without meaning to. That is exactly how inflamed vessels behave. Berries clear that fog. Their deep colors come from powerful antioxidants called anthocyanins, which help calm inflammation in the vessel walls. As the inflammation eases, the pathway for blood becomes clearer, smoother, and easier. The legs feel lighter because the flow inside them is lighter. And when the vessels relax, they respond better to the natural nitric oxide your body is still trying to produce, even after 60. Carol began adding a small bowl of berries to her breakfast 3 mornings a week. Nothing extreme, nothing forced. 2 months later, she told me, "I walked the orchard again. Slowly, but I walked it. And my legs did not argue with me this time. It was not the berries alone. It was the way they helped her vessels find clarity again." Berries are not a miracle. They are a quiet helper, a gentle clearing of the path your blood travels. And what comes next on this list goes even deeper, feeding the very structure of your vessels in a way berries cannot. Stay with me, because food number 6 helps rebuild the circulation system from the inside out, like giving your arteries fresh batteries to start the day. If you have ever climbed the steps to your front porch and felt your legs tighten halfway up, almost like the muscles were running out of breath before you did, you are not alone. Many older adults don't realize that this sudden heaviness is not a sign of weakness. It is often a sign of low natural nitric oxide, the tiny spark your vessels need to open fully and send strong leg circulation into the muscles that help you stand, climb, and move through your day. This is where leafy greens, the foods many of us grew up pushing to the side of the plate, become quietly powerful. Spinach, arugula, lettuce, kale, and even the greens you add to a sandwich all behave like small nitric oxide factories. They feed the lining of your blood vessels the exact compounds they need to create the signals that open your arteries and bring oxygen-rich blood to your legs. I remember a patient named Evelyn, 66, who lived in a small house with her daughter. She told me the stairs became her biggest daily battle. Not the pain, not the effort, but the feeling was that her legs were a step behind her. When I explained how nitric oxide declines after 60 and how greens could help restore that spark, she looked at me and said, "Doc, I have not eaten spinach since the 1970s. We laughed, but she agreed to try adding greens 4 days a week. Not salads. Simple things. A handful of spinach in her omelet, lettuce on her sandwich, a small side of cooked greens at dinner. 3 weeks later, she told me, the stairs feel different. Not easy, but different. Like my legs are remembering what to do again. That is the quiet power of nitric oxide rebuilding itself. No fanfare, just better flow, better strength, better confidence with each step. Leafy greens are not magic. They do not change your life overnight, but they help your vessels do what they have been trying to do all along: deliver steady blood flow to the legs that carry you through every day of your life. And what comes next goes even deeper, because food number 5 gives your vessels not just the fuel, but the building materials they need to stay strong and flexible. Stay with me, because the next food supports leg circulation in a way most people never expect. If you have ever stood up from your couch after watching the evening news and felt your legs tighten for a moment before they agreed to carry you forward, you are not imagining it. Many older adults do not realize that this stiffness often comes from minerals quietly slipping out of balance. Your vessels rely on tiny electrical signals to open and close, to guide healthy leg circulation, and to support the natural nitric oxide your body still tries to make every single day. When those signals weaken, the vessels cannot respond the way they used to. They become hesitant, almost unsure of themselves. This is where nuts and seeds step in like a small toolbox for your circulation. Pumpkin seeds, sunflower seeds, almonds, walnuts, and even the handful you snack on while watching a baseball game or drinking your morning coffee carry minerals like magnesium, zinc, and copper. These minerals help your arteries stay flexible and responsive, the way they were designed to be. Think of your vessels as the garden hoses you roll up in the garage. When the material is supple, the water flows freely. When it becomes dry and stiff, the flow struggles. Nuts and seeds help keep that flexibility alive. I remember a patient named Robert, 73, who told me he dreaded grocery shopping because the long walk from the parking lot to the entrance made his legs feel rigid, almost locked. We looked at his diet together, and he realized he barely ate any foods containing these essential minerals. So we started small. A handful of pumpkin seeds in the afternoon, a sprinkle of walnuts on his oatmeal. Nothing complicated, nothing forced. 4 weeks later, he said, "Doc, I do not freeze up when I start walking anymore. My legs feel more willing." That willingness comes from vessels that can finally respond to the body's signals again, helped along by the minerals that keep them flexible. Nuts and seeds will not replace medication, and they will not fix circulation overnight. But they give your body the raw materials it has been missing, the quiet support that helps natural nitric oxide do its job with less resistance. And now we move into the top 4 foods, where the changes become even more noticeable. Stay with me, because food number 4 does something no snack can do. It helps lower pressure inside the vessels themselves, giving your legs a sense of lightness many people have not felt in years. If you have ever finished a meal and felt your legs grow heavier as the evening settles in, almost as if the day finally caught up to your circulation, you are not imagining it. Many older adults do not realize that the pressure inside their blood vessels can quietly rise over time. It doesn't shout, it doesn't warn. It just makes every step feel a little more weighted, a little less free. When pressure rises, leg circulation struggles. Blood has to fight harder to push downward and return upward, especially after 60, when natural nitric oxide is already declining. This is where beans and legumes become surprisingly powerful. Black beans, navy beans, chickpeas, lentils, pinto beans, kidney beans, even the ones tucked into a simple American chili, all help relax the internal pressure inside your vessels. They are rich in fiber, plant proteins, and minerals that calm inflammation and support healthier blood flow. Think of pressure inside your arteries, like water pushing against the walls of a hose. If the pressure is too high, the hose strains. Beans help turn that pressure down so your vessels can do their job without fighting the current. I once worked with a 69-year-old man named Thomas. He loved his burgers, fries, and barbecue ribs, but his legs would swell by late afternoon, and walking from the car into the pharmacy felt like crossing a long field. When we talked about diet, he admitted he had not eaten beans since his mother used to make them on Sundays. So we started small. A cup of black bean soup twice a week. Then 3 times. Sometimes lentils with rice. Nothing fancy, nothing restrictive. By the 2nd month, he told me, "Doc, my legs feel lighter at the end of the day. Not perfect, but better. Better enough that I do not dread walking across the parking lot anymore." That shift did not come from magic. It came from reducing that internal pressure so his vessels could finally send blood to his legs without strain. Beans do not fix circulation overnight, but they give your vessels a calmer environment, the foundation your body needs to rebuild flow one day at a time. And now we enter the top 3, where the impact becomes even more noticeable. Stay with me, because food number 3 increases natural nitric oxide faster than almost anything you can eat. If you have ever taken an afternoon walk and felt your legs warming slowly, almost as if the circulation is trying to catch up to the rest of you, you may be sensing something important. Many older adults don't realize that their body is still trying to produce natural nitric oxide, the signal that opens their blood vessels. But after 60, that signal becomes faint, like a flashlight with weakening batteries. Your legs still want to move, but the flow reaching them is delayed. This is exactly why beetroot is such a remarkable food for leg circulation. Beets contain natural nitrates that your body transforms into nitric oxide far more quickly than almost any other food. It is like handing that dim flashlight a brand new battery and watching the beam brighten instantly. Suddenly, the vessels open a little more. Blood moves a little more easily. The legs feel a little warmer. Not magic. Just biology is finally getting what it has been missing. I will never forget Harold, the 72-year-old I mentioned earlier. He told me his feet felt cold every night, even under blankets. When I asked him to try half a cup of beet puree or beet juice a few times a week, he agreed with a doubtful smile. 2 days later, he called and said, "Doc, I got out of bed this morning, and my feet actually felt warm." Warm. I have not felt that in years. What he was feeling was the sudden rise of nitric oxide, that quick restoration of the signal his vessels had forgotten how to use efficiently. Beets helped his arteries relax in a way they had not been able to for a long time. It did not cure anything. It simply allowed his blood to travel with less resistance, so his legs could receive the flow they had been quietly asking for. Beetroot will not change your circulation overnight, and it is not for everyone. People with a history of kidney stones should talk to their doctor before using it regularly. But for many older adults, this is one of the most effective natural tools to support nitric oxide levels and warm the legs from the inside out. And yet, as powerful as beets are, the next food does something different. Stay with me, because food number 2 can relax blood vessels in a way that feels almost comforting, especially at the end of a long day. If you have ever settled into your recliner at the end of a long day and felt your legs tightening, almost as if the tension you carried all afternoon finally decided to show up, you are not imagining it. Many older adults do not realize that by evening, the small vessels in the legs can become tired and resistant, making leg circulation slow and heavy. This is especially true after 60, when the natural nitric oxide that keeps vessels relaxed has already begun to fade. Your legs are not weak. They are simply asking for a gentler pathway, a softer signal to open and breathe again. That is where dark cocoa steps in. Not the sugary mixes, but real, unsweetened cocoa, rich in natural flavanols. These compounds help your arteries produce and protect nitric oxide, allowing your vessels to relax in a way many people describe as comforting. Imagine sitting by a warm fire on a winter night, feeling the tension in your shoulders melt. Cocoa does something similar for your blood vessels. It helps them let go. I once worked with a 68-year-old woman named Marlene. Every night around 7, her legs would ache just enough to keep her from enjoying her favorite TV shows. She would shift, stretch, rub her calves, but nothing eased that evening heaviness. When she told me she missed the warm cocoa her mother used to make on cold nights in Ohio, I suggested she try a small cup of real dark cocoa, the kind with no added sugar, just once or twice a week. 2 weeks later, she smiled at me in the clinic hallway and said, "Doc, I drink it before bed, and my legs feel calm. Not perfect, not cured, just calm enough for me to fall asleep without fighting them." What she was feeling was the quiet restoration of nitric oxide, the gentle widening of vessels that finally allowed her legs to rest. Dark cocoa will not fix circulation overnight, and it is not meant to replace treatment, but it offers a soft, steady support for the vessels that carry you through your evenings. A comfort food that comforts your circulation, too. And now, we reach the final food on this list, the one that surprises almost everyone. Stay with me, because food number 1 works faster than any other natural option, and many older adults have no idea it can warm their legs in just a few hours. If you have ever stepped out of bed in the morning and wondered why your legs still feel cold, even in a warm room, you are not imagining it. Many older adults do not realize that this coldness is not just about temperature. It is often a sign that the vessels in your legs are not getting the nitric oxide signal they need to open wide and bring warm, oxygen-rich blood to your feet. And this is why watermelon, of all foods, becomes the most surprising and powerful tool for leg circulation after 60. Watermelon contains a compound called L-citrulline, which your body immediately turns into natural nitric oxide. Not slowly, not gradually, but quickly. It is like turning a dimmer switch all the way up and watching a room brighten in seconds. When nitric oxide rises, the vessels in your legs relax, the flow improves, and warmth begins to return from the inside out. I once worked with a 70-year-old woman named Grace, who told me her feet had felt cold for almost a decade. She had tried warm socks, heating pads, and thick blankets, but none of them made a lasting difference. One summer afternoon, after we talked about citrulline, she added a cup of fresh watermelon to her lunch. She told me she felt nothing that day, but the next morning, she stepped out of bed and paused. Her legs felt warmer. Not hot, not perfect, but warm enough that she looked down at her own feet and whispered, "Is this actually happening?" It was. And it made her cry, not because the change was dramatic, but because it reminded her that her body was not done trying. Her vessels were still capable of responding. Her circulation was not finished. It was simply waiting for a clearer signal. Watermelon will not cure circulation problems, and it is not meant to replace treatment, but for many older adults, it is one of the fastest natural ways to support nitric oxide and bring gentle warmth back to the legs. And now that we have reached the number 1 food, there is something more important to say. Stay with me for the final part, because the ending message is not about food at all. It is about hope, healing, and the truth that most people over 60 never hear about their legs. If you have made it to this point in the video, I want to tell you something gently, clearly, and from the heart. Your legs are not failing you. Your body is not giving up. Even if you have felt heaviness, coldness, swelling, or fatigue for years, your body is still trying every single day to heal you. You simply have to give it what it needs, and small choices can make real, meaningful changes. The foods we talked about today are not magic cures. They do not replace treatment, but they do support the signals and pathways you depend on, especially natural nitric oxide, the quiet messenger that keeps leg circulation alive and working for you. I have spent years sitting across from older adults who believed their legs were too far gone, that the warmth and strength they once had were lost forever. Yet, I have watched those same people take gentle steps forward, sometimes with nothing more than a few new foods, a bit of patience, and a willingness to believe their body could still change. Healing after 60 does not look like it did at 20. It is slower, quieter, and more humble. But it is still possible, and it is still yours. Think about the stories you heard today. Harold feels warmth in his feet for the first time in years. Evelyn is climbing her stairs without dread. Grace whispered in disbelief when her legs no longer felt cold in the morning. These were not dramatic transformations. They were small victories, earned one choice at a time. And that is how healing grows after 60. Not in leaps, but in steady steps. So here is my invitation to you. Choose one food from this list. Just one. Add it to your day, not as a chore, but as an act of kindness toward the body that has carried you through every season of your life. Even a small step is a step toward better circulation, better comfort, and better confidence. And now, I want to hear from you. Which food will you try first? Leave a comment below. I read every message because your story matters more than you know. If this video gave you even a moment of hope, feel free to subscribe for more gentle, science-based guidance. You deserve legs that carry you with steadiness, warmth, and trust.